Hello, welcome to Talking Rubbish, a weekly podcast delving deep into the world of recycling, discussing the truth behind snappy headlines and one-sided stories. I'm James Piper, author of The Rubbish Book, and I'm joined by Robbie Staniforth, my far from rubbish friend. And we are joined today by Ashley, the number one Binman, our far from rubbish guest. Hi, Robbie.
Hey, James.
We are fresh from an unbelievable day of BBC coverage, aren't we?
Not just us, Ashley too, our number one bin man.
I had someone messaging me yesterday. They said, I hear the biggest binfluencer is going to be on Radio 5 Live. And they were like, which of you is it? I said, neither. I don't know who it is. And he said, it's this guy called Ashley. So that's amazing. We're interviewing him tomorrow. So this is a complete coincidence that the BBC and people will recognise this as a couple of weeks after this event. The BBC did a big thing on food waste. It meant we were all over the place. I mean, Robbie, you were on the red sofa. How did that feel? Red sofa, BBC breakfast.
Yeah, it was very fun. I mean, I was maybe a little bit too casual, reclined on the sofa with my arm on the sofa back. I did get a bit of feedback that maybe I took the producer's advice a little too literally when they said, make yourself at home. So I did.
That's what they like, yeah. I also got on BBC Breakfast, so both Talking Rubbish co-hosts were on BBC Breakfast within like half an hour of each other, but mine was pre-recorded. And then I was busy on Radio 4, 3 local stations, BBC News. It was just an unbelievable day. I was reflecting on it. It was great that the BBC took this big news story about food waste and councils implementing food waste and said, how do we get this across all of our local stations? They did a really good job doing that.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant to see that they actually cared about food waste and also the fly tipping issue.
Should I tell you about BBC Bristol? I arrived like half an hour early, okay? So I'm sat in reception. I've been to the studio quite a few times, BBC Bristol. And the security guard rang in and said, James is here for an interview. And then he was like, what time's your interview? And it was getting quite close to the time. And he just kept ringing them going, guys, your interviewee is here. Is he not going on the radio in the next couple of minutes? And so in the end, this lady came to get me, gave me a cup of water. And I said, oh, great. Okay, when am I going on? She went, hang on, I'll just check. And literally ran out of the room and said, come in. And I'm walking in to a live studio that's just going, and we're just joined by James Piper from Talking, while I'm sitting down, putting the headphones on, and it's immediately like, hello. And I thought, God, that was so close, within seconds of being a disaster, until I listened back to the segment where, for a couple of minutes before she'd been going, I'm not sure where my guest is. There's some technical issues going on and where's my guest? She kept saying there were technical issues, but then during the interview proceeded to go, thanks for coming into the studio. So I was like, everyone's going to know the technical issues were you've left me in reception.
That's so good. And
great
were you flustered or did you go okay?
I think it made for a better interview. I was so relaxed. I was just like, okay, we're going. I haven't had time to think about it. It was great. Yeah, it was fun.
No time to get nervous. I must say I was whisked in pretty quickly and out of the breakfast sofa too. There's definitely nowhere near enough time to actually get nervous about it. Before you know what's happening, the cameras are rolling and you're saying the word smelly and mucky just over and over again and you're not quite sure what you're doing. That was my experience of it anyway.
Additions and corrections. Last week we talked about glass DRS in Wales and the fact that basically Wales are introducing glass in their DRS when the rest of the home nations aren't. So England, Scotland and Northern Ireland aren't including glass. And there was a question about how that would happen and the fact that glass wouldn't have a deposit attracted for, I think it was the first 4 years, if I remember rightly. I noticed a post on LinkedIn from Paul Piercy, and he's from British Glass, and he was asking some really interesting questions that I hadn't thought about, that it sounds like are quite unresolved. So I thought it was just worth highlighting a couple of unintended consequences of including glass in DRS. And I guess the first one is one of my criticisms of DRS. So this is a deposit return scheme where we're going to have a deposit applied to our drinks and then you get the deposit back when you bring it back. It's always the unredeemed deposits that help to fund it. So there's a lot of expense up front, but then you're hoping not everyone's going to bring their bottles back and then whatever isn't claimed is what helps fund it. And so I think it was Ireland, wasn't it, in the first year of launching their scheme, they've got over 60 million euros unredeemed, which is just a huge amount of deposits just sat there not being claimed. And it means that you're not really driven to have a high collection rate because, of course, you want more and more unredeemed deposits. But Paul was pointing out, if glass has the cost of the reverse vending machines and the cost of a system, and it's included in the system, but no deposit, then that's going to make the system a lot more expensive because there's going to be no unredeemed deposits for glass.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a tricky thing to balance. And ultimately, the governments are going to have to work together and come out and say how they're going to resolve the issue to ensure that it isn't a double cost.
Yeah, and then there's another double cost, of course, with EPR, because in England, glass is in EPR, but not DRS. So in England, we say if you're in the DRS scheme, you don't have costs within EPR. Now, that's really easy if you're doing that as a whole, you know, if every nation is doing that. So if England, Wales, Scotland are all doing the same thing, then it's really easy to go, your EPR, your DRS. With Wales now, what the glass industry will argue is, well, we don't want to pay an EPR bill because we're now in DRS. But how do you work out which bit of your EPR bill is just linked to Wales? So you're going to have to suddenly track all your transactions in Wales, work out the weight of that material. It's just opening this can of worms that I'm not sure I'd really thought through when we talked about it last week.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky to get the two things separated. There is also nation of sale reporting that's supposed to be coming in from next year. However, I'm not sure that's going to be the silver bullet that helps resolve this, what got sold in Wales, and how do you make sure you take that off your EPR bill. But definitely more to come on that issue. And I've got an addition on corks. This one was a rubbish or not way back in episode 3, so the recycling of corks. And I'll be honest with you, I was interacting with someone on LinkedIn about this, and someone privately messaged me and said, Robbie, you do know you've done a podcast on recycling corks, don't you? To which I realised I had totally forgotten. So I went back and listened to it.
Can I just say, no one needs talking rubbish recycle content more than Robbie. This breakdown of all our clips is going to be so useful for you.
It really is. Yeah, it's going to help me remember the things that I've already said and that are out there. Anyway, we advised that these natural corks, you can chop them up, you can use them as mulch. There's a scheme called Recork that we talked about where if you've got like commercial quantities, you're a bar or something, you can get them collected. Well, there has been a new scheme launched by Majestic Wines. So they're a retailer of fine wines in the UK here. They've launched a take-back scheme. Apparently it's in all of their stores and you can go and deposit your corks. Why do I care so much about this? Well, I'm hoping to move house soon and I've got a huge bag of corks, which perhaps tells me something about my wine consumption habits, maybe. I was hoping to use them for a craft project, like a cork pin board. I'm sure you've seen those kinds of things before. But this is the kind of thing I really don't want to be moving house with a bag of old corks. So I think I'm going to have to scrap the craft project ideas and head over to Majestic Wines and recycle these corks.
Of course, it's a vicious cycle because when you're in Majestic, you'll be like, oh, we need some more wine. And then you'll end up with more corks. It's just...
Majestic Wine know what they're doing.
We'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, EcoSurety, who are on a mission to rid the world of unnecessary packaging. They help brands navigate the tricky world of extended producer responsibility, but that is not all. They also collaborate on some incredible recycling projects and consumer awareness campaigns for those tough-to-recycle materials. If you're an organisation looking to make smarter packaging choices, check them out at ecosurety.com. And the best thing you can do to help our podcast to grow is to tell your friends and family about it. You can also leave us a review. And if you do that, you could be Robbie's Review of the Week.
And this one's yet another 5-star review from Plastic Lucy. And the title is A Brilliant Deep Dive into the Depths of Recycling and How We Live Today. Talking Rubbish has become my new fave podcast, so much so that my 8-year-old daughter complains loudly when she gets in the car and finds it on yet again. Admittedly, I am biased. Hi, Robbie and James. But honestly, there is so much I'm learning each week that I never knew I wanted to know. The complexities of making purchasing decisions based around environmental health and also human health are vast and really hard to unravel as a consumer. So I appreciate that the format allows for examination of the minutiae as well as the big pictures. Guys, keep up the good fight for your growing band of binfluencers.
It's very good. Thank you so much, Lucy, who we think we know. Seeing she said hi, James and Robbie.
We know a couple of Lucys, though.
I'm pretty sure we know who this is. So thank you so much for that review. And you can follow us at Rubbish Podcast. You can email talkingrubbishpodcast@gmail.com, or you can WhatsApp us. Also join our Discord. It's the easiest way to engage with us and listeners of the show. And the link to all of those things is in the show notes. Every 5 episodes, we get the opportunity to interview someone involved in the recycling industry. And our guest this week is Ashley, the UK's #1 bin man. Hi, Ashley.
How's it going?
Yes, very good. Thank you. Is it fair to say you are the most famous bin person in the UK?
Well, I do like to occasionally Google Binman TikTok, and I do come up quite a lot. So I'm going to say probably, yeah.
Oh, that's good. We do the same with Recycling Podcast. We just have to check that.
Yeah.
I have to go incognito just so it doesn't remember who I am, and just check that Recycling Podcast is in the top listings.
But James, you're an empirical data man. So surely you must know the key statistics that make Ashley the #1 bin man.
It is a case of having the TikTok handle #1 bin man.
Just get there first. That's all you got to do.
So for Binfluencers not familiar, Ashley is a very, very viral refuse operative who has 20,000 followers on Instagram and over 150,000 on TikTok. Robbie, numbers we can only dream of.
Absolutely. Wow. A serious binfluencer.
A serious influencer. And we actually had that yesterday because, as we were saying in our intro, we've just come off the back of a day of BBC interviews. And one of our binfluencers texted me saying, Radio 5 Live had just said they've got the #1 binfluencer on the show. Which one of you is it? I said, it's neither of us. And I thought, who is this guy? So I listened in, realised it was Ashley, and thought, by complete coincidence, we've got him on the show tomorrow.
I wasn't expecting it. I got told about that in the morning, so it was just it was a shock to me as well.
Oh, really? The Radio 5 one?
Yeah, I literally was planning to do obviously the local radio stations, but I ended up doing the 5 Live one as well. So,
as I said, just to give a bit of background, you make videos on TikTok all about recycling. Just to give Binfluencers a flavour, one of your top videos with 2.4 million views is you removing polystyrene from the recycling bin. And I've got to try really hard not to sing the lyrics here because that is my natural style. So you removing polystyrene from the recycling bin to the tune of Rihanna's Take a Bow. The lyrics of which are, don't tell me you're sorry because you're not. Well, I know you're only sorry you got caught. And I mean, that's a video with 2.4 million views, of which I reckon I'm at least 100 of those views because it's quite addictive. It's quite addictive, that video. And my wife hates it because the song is in our head all the time at the moment.
no, I've done that video as a while ago now. I think that's one of my older ones. I feel like I did that last year. But yeah, I do like to just make information local, like to general songs and stuff, so it just obviously people really relate to it more if it's obviously through a song than rather just talking information.
Have you said binformation before? Because it really looked like you just came up with that on the fly.
Oh no, I said it a couple of days ago, and I was like, it's a binformation, and binfo is my like little in the bin industry. Obviously, I talk about a lot.
God, it can be applied to so many things.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be thinking about them for the rest of the interview now.
Does the word start with IN? If it does,
You've never been to it. Lovely.
you're always posting to Binstagram.
I'm on BinTok, obviously.
BinTok, yeah, you commented that the other day on my post because
Yeah.
what we talk about, our silent supporters, and you said welcome to BinTok, and then
BinTok.
loads of people were commenting going, I want to be on BinTok. How do I get onto this? Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, some of your videos, let's just give a couple more examples. You've got someone putting a contaminated bin out to the tune of Who Do You Think You Are by the Spice Girls. You're chasing after the bin lorry with the Rose from Titanic, the bit where she's freezing and she's saying, come back to the lifeboats. It's you chasing after the bin lorry. I guess my first question is, how do you come up with your ideas? Because I think you post every day.
Oh yeah, I posted every day for the last 16 months. I've probably posted like anywhere between 3 to about 6 videos a day. I literally just recycle the general information and then just keep adding new songs or talking about different questions people ask me.
Sorry, you said 3 to 5 videos a day.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I do have to, so when I get a chance to make videos, I will save a load of comments what people have put on my posts, and then try and do them in like one go. So it only takes me 1 minute, 1 second normally to do a video. It has to be over the minute long. And then that's it. I just make as many as I can. And then when I'm sitting in the cab, when I'm driving, I just save, if I'm listening to like Spotify or something, I literally just save songs and go, oh, I can add that to a bin related information or something.
Amazing. And why do you feel it's taken off recently? Because it sort of feels like you've had massive growth in the last couple of months, and obviously the media have started picking up on your advice that you're giving through your videos. What do you think has caused it to take off?
It's obviously the simpler recycling has obviously helped a lot, because I feel like a lot of people are trying to get information about it, and I just seem to come up at the same time as it. So that's good for me. But it's just, mainly people having questions about it more than they've ever had it before, because you realise a lot more people obviously have the postcode lottery of recycling, and people have completely different bins, which I've some in my videos. I get people asking, well, my bin's or black bin for recycling or general waste. Why are you putting it in the wrong bin? So it just kind of, it gets a nice little storm of comments going on in the videos.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that, because your Rihanna video is you removing polystyrene from the black bin and saying, don't put it in here. And in my head, I'm thinking, the black bin's general. Put it back in there. Where are you taking it?
Yeah, mine's completely different.
Yeah, so how do you deal with that? Do you get lots of comments saying, hang on a second, this is the wrong colour? Or do people generally understand that you're just doing it from your home setup?
Yeah, well, they don't understand at all, to be honest, because everyone thinks that everyone's got the same colour bin. So I do now try and put on the screen, like even in the video, it said like, taking it out to the recycling bin, and people still go, that's a general waste bin. I'm like, it's not to me. There's nothing else I can do about it.
Yeah, you'll have to print out just a recycling sign that you just stick on the bin so everyone knows this black bin is my recycling bin.
Well, I try it with the text on the screen, and in that Rihanna video it still says taking it out the recycling bin, but no matter what I try, I want to upset somebody who doesn't have the correct colour bin to what they perceived to be the recycling bin.
So you're already starting to clear up one of the binfluencers' questions out there, which is that you are actually a bin man, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I started about 13 years ago. I started off as a loader, and then did that for about 7 years, and then I became a driver, driving for 6 years now. So I kind of still have to do both. I've been loading for the last 2 weeks because I'm more of the younger side of the drivers, so I don't mind getting out and loading and stuff.
So what does your working day look like then? Usually that surely starts quite early in the day, does it?
Yeah, so I have to be at my yard for 5:30, and then we get given our keys. If obviously the drivers, we do our vehicle checks as normal, and then we pick the loaders up about 5:45, and then our first bins go on at 6 o'clock. Until we obviously finish our round.
And just speaking of a round, because we had this BBC Recycling Day yesterday, I was watching the BBC Bristol reporter who'd gone out with Bristol Waste, and I feel like they were confessing a bit too much. The operative, the driver, said, obviously, if you're too successful, they send you out on another round. So there was this discussion about how you want to collect the right amount of waste. You want to do it in the right time frame so that when you get back to the depot, they say, oh, you can finish for the day, as opposed to, oh, can you go and help someone else because you've come back so early? So is that something you have to think about? You have to think, okay, when I get brought back to the depot, I might get sent back out again?
It depends on every company is completely different. So some people will have a job and finish, which would mean you get given a certain amount of jobs for the day, and then that's your complete day. Or you'd have task and finish, which the task is to complete all the bins before you can go back. So that's like the group of you. So it obviously depends on which one it is. But yeah, so normally it's, if you do finish early, just say all the time at 11 o'clock, a lot before your time, then you might be given more work because other people are not finishing till 1 o'clock and they feel like it's evening out. But I would prefer to ask to be switched round and rather go on their round to see if I can finish their round earlier before willing to take on more work.
And is there competition then between the rounds for so if you, for example, you're done nice and early, you've quickly whizzed around your round, someone consistently, like another crew, is that what you would call the, so another crew's, whizzing around as fast as they can, but they're finishing hours and hours after you. Is there then a big debate about whose round is harder and which crew is better? Is that a common thing?
It is. Well, a bit from the amount of time I've been doing it, like you hear exactly the same excuses and stuff for the whole time. As in, you'd be like, if you finish early, everyone else will say you've got an easy round, or if. And I was like, no, I don't have an easy round. Just make it look easy. That's my little the thing. It's you just being too slow. So it's like either it's an easy round, or like, no, you're just too slow on that round. So that's why we're finishing at different times. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'd rather go and swap rounds rather than then obviously get given more work. But no Binman I've known would always go, yeah, I've got an easy round. Give me more work. I've never seen it happen.
Everyone claims it's difficult whether they finish early or late. Yeah, it's in your best interest to kind of show that it's pretty tough out there, which, let's be honest, Ashley, it is pretty tough. It is not an easy job in terms of what you're expected to do, because every refuse operative I've ever seen is going at the maximum pace in terms of how many bins they can get collected.
Oh, yes. And also you work a lot faster the later on you go into the week as well, because everyone wants to get done early on a Friday. So you'll see Binman working double hard on a Friday compared to a Monday. But so it's obviously doing a lot of work. People love to be like, oh, I could do that job. When it's coming to like the nicer weather, everyone feels like they can be a bin man in the summer. It's lovely. You get a suntan. And when you come to the winter and it's snowing or cold outside, it's like, don't fancy that really.
And in Bristol, where we're based, we have curbside sort. We talked about that like all the way back on episode 1. How does the council you work for collect? I'm always fascinated by different ways councils collect our rubbish.
So the council, obviously, where I work and where I live, have completely different bin setups. So where I work, they have the plastic, then have paper, and obviously general waste, food waste. So that's been like that for over 5 years now, each service. But where I live, we still haven't got food waste. We've only got general and then recycling, and that's all I have. So it's completely different. So when I'm talking about people, I can relate to both sides of people in the comments going, I don't do this. You don't have to do that. And it's like, well, depends where you are.
And so when you're picking up a food waste bin, are you thinking, I could do this better if I had this at home? You get annoyed because you're seeing an eggshell in the general bin thinking, this is so frustrating.
Yeah, at home we have a compost bin, so we do compost ourselves. So we wouldn't have much food waste, because obviously the only stuff that will go in there is obviously bones and meat and stuff. So the rest of the stuff we do compost anyway. But I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm looking forward to having a food waste caddy, but it's nice not to have one at the moment, because the smell of some of them can be proper bad.
Oh, that's interesting, because we often say they don't smell, if they're collected weekly and you're doing it properly, but presumably your council is collecting it weekly, the food waste. So you do experience that smell like in the summer or something like that.
Oh, yes. And the main thing is obviously some people don't put the food waste in a bag. It's just loose in the bin. And it's like, there's only so many times you can bang a bin to try and get out without breaking the bin. So you've got to weigh it up, and like you do it the best you can, but it is much easier if someone puts it in a paper bag or newspaper or a biodegradable bag. Especially the Co-op, they're the best bags. They're terrible as carrier bags, but they're great for food waste.
I completely agree. Like, why aren't people using bags? That's a great call out, guys. First bit of advice from number 1 bin man: use a bag with your food waste. It's best for everyone.
So you're mostly collecting wheelie bins then, rather than like boxes of recycling when you're on your round?
So I mainly do a recycling round. So we collect a service of either paper 1 week, plastic the other, and food waste every week. So we have a split lorry, which is 70-30 split. So 30% food, 70% of the recycling material. And so, we have to push a wheelie bin with us to put the food waste in. So the smell, obviously, that stays in the bin for hours if you get a proper smelly one.
Oh, okay. So you're wheeling a bin around and emptying the food caddy into a wheelie bin.
Yeah.
And then eventually, once that gets full, putting it into the tipper in the back of the truck.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And presumably those bins that are smelling, it's because people aren't either using those carrier bags or they're just not washing their caddy out every week or whatever. So it could potentially, it's not because it's a week's worth of food, it's potentially much longer, because if they've put it in loose or it's spilled outside the bag inside the caddy, it's kind of in there and it's just going to keep smelling for longer and longer.
It also depends on if they do put it out every single week, because if you forget 1 week and then that's 2 weeks worth in the bin, and then obviously if they haven't bagged it up, bread's the worst. Bread, if you put it in there and you tip it into the bin, you get a nice cloud of mould come out the bin. You're like, nah, at least tip this bin straight away, because it's not good.
You've got to be doing a fair bit of walking then, haven't you, surely?
So obviously you try and record it on your fitness app, but when you're pushing a bin, it doesn't record as many steps as you do. Because if you do a pram and stuff, you're holding on to a thing, your watch isn't moving, depending on the quality of your watch, obviously. So I'm not going to be wearing a 100, 200 pound watch doing the bins, because obviously you're going to be banging it around and stuff. But yeah,
Sure.
just trying to count steps, it misses loads of steps. So you could be like, one day you could be doing it and there's 18,000 steps. You think, I feel like I've walked more than that. And then the next week, you obviously I've used the other hand more, and you end up doing 23,000 steps. You're like, where did all these extra steps come from?
And it's exactly the same round.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. But obviously, you're either crossing the road more, you just like put it with your left hand, and your fitness watch is on your right hand, and it counts more steps. It's just as simple as that. But you can never tell how much.
If you had to guess, though, we're putting it around 20,000 steps, are we? That's what you're doing on an average round, is it?
I reckon if you're just doing like what you're doing during your shift, it's probably around 22,000, I would say.
Okay, let's hope your employers aren't listening and thinking, he should be doing 30,000.
But obviously, most people will obviously clock up 30,000. Obviously, you're going to be walking before work and after work. So obviously, for the whole day, it would be a lot more. But if you're just taking your actual shift, you're probably doing about 22,000. Drivers probably nowhere near that, by the way. They're just gonna they're doing. You're lucky to get over like 3,000-4,000 out of some drivers. So,
so do you prefer drive? Because you do both, don't you? Do you prefer driving or collecting the bins? Which is
loading all day long. Much rather.
Interesting.
But you got two reasons. Obviously, the fitness side of it. I love the walking outside and all that, and also you haven't got to do the tip run, so you get to go home early. Compared to the driver, you haven't got to do the checks or wash the lorry down or anything like that. You just like, all right, see you later. I'm off now. Happy days.
But a lot of your videos are filmed in a truck, so presumably you do those on driving days, because I'm guessing you film those back at the depot rather than on the round itself.
Yes, all my videos are filmed after work. So obviously, you could obviously see how long I've been like loading or driving for, because they'd be either all in the lorry, and then I'll just do the ones at home occasionally. But when I'm finish early from work, from loading, I just do loads at home in front of the bins and stuff, because it's the only time I can actually use like actual bins, because obviously we don't carry them around with us, apart from the food waste ones. And everyone's like, why is there not a lid on that bin? I was like, because if I'm loading, I can't be opening the lid every single time to put the food in.
So you're doing these videos to try and reduce confusion and misinformation. How much confusion do you think there is for the average resident, you know, as you're going around collecting these bins? Because you've got this luxurious position of doing these videos to try and educate people, but you're also seeing the other side of like what people are actually putting out in their waste. And I'm intrigued to know how different those two things are.
There's a lot of stuff which are completely shouldn't be in the recycling bin at all. And you're like, I don't understand how people think they should go in there. So we've got like nappies end up in the plastic bin. And you're like, where have you thought of this to put that in the right bin? Or obviously the main one, obviously with the video you said about before, which is the polystyrene. I don't know many councils have actually told me or anything like that they actually recycle polystyrene within their household bins. You obviously have to be taken away to somewhere else. But that sort of information is like, people just think plastic, isn't it? And then just put it in the bin.
Yeah, I was actually just on the radio with, I think it was BBC Worcester, and they were saying up to a fifth of their recycling is diverted to an incinerator partly because of nappies. It's very odd. To me, it's very odd that people think nappies are recyclable. But then you look at them, because obviously I've got a young son, so I'm looking at it going, why is this happening? And there's symbols on there that are so confusing. So the green dot is one we've talked about before in a very early episode of Talking Rubbish. You know, the two arrows, kind of, they're green and they swirl together, and everyone thinks it means recyclable, which it doesn't. It doesn't mean anything in the UK. And a lot of nappies now say words like biodegradable, or the plastic is biodegradable. And again, people think, oh, that must mean I put it in my recycling bin. And that misinformation is absolutely huge.
Yeah, there's so many items. Obviously, we have a lot of like dog poo and stuff like that. That goes in the food waste bin. It's like, no, it's not. It doesn't go in there. I know it's obviously, the people are like, oh, it's from food. It's not the same. Completely not the same. General waste bin, 100% of the time.
And one of the things I'm always intrigued by is, like, on my street, if I like to think I'm the binfluencer on the street, but it's fun watching people put their bins out at like midnight, because I've suddenly remembered to do it, and I go, oh God, I've just remembered to put my bins out, and I go to put them out and I realise no one else on the street has done it because I'm late. I'm intrigued to know whether you can tell who is responsible for the bins on the street.
Obviously, we try and obviously tell people to put it out the night before, but obviously some people do it last minute and stuff, and they have no idea which week is which. Obviously, look down the street, and occasionally you see one or two houses putting out the wrong bins where they've got a completely different week, and you're like, well, they've obviously just copied each other rather than knowing which bins to put out. And then it's nice for us, because we just record it as not out or wrong bin out, and we can just have to walk past them. There's nothing we can do about it. But yeah, this happens all the time. That it's normally 3 or 4 houses in a row or across the road from each other which have the wrong bin out. You're like, sorry, see you later, and you just carry on going.
Okay, and so how do the like sort of complaints work? You know, you said you sort of log that it's the wrong bin or whatever. How does that? Do the complaints come directly to you, or what happens if someone's bin's missed and either it's their fault or not, or whatever?
So normally what happens is we log our bins in the during the day. So it would be like the road names, and then we'll just log house numbers and stuff like that. We have all the data, which are like assisted collections, where people have to go up and get the bin from a certain position and bring them back. And then obviously if they're not out, we record down in the system as bin not out. But there's also obviously other reasons we might not take the bin. So we've got like contaminated bin, over compacted, frozen bins in the winter, because obviously if stuff gets frozen to the bottom of it, we can't empty them. So
okay, so I have to ask, have you done a frozen themed video? Is there a Let It Go video?
I haven't done one yet, no. I remember it for next year, or if it freezes again, but I haven't done a frozen bin video yet.
Yeah, we're in a bit of a warm spell at the moment. It feels like it's going to be next year.
But yes, we have lots of things we record. Obviously, there's a lot of like damaged bins and stuff where we can't move the bin because the wheels are broken off it. So we can't even move it off it if it is too heavy. All that stuff gets recorded on the device we have in the cab. And then when they ring up to the council to complain, that's a record from the information. This is the reason why it wasn't collected. Unfortunately, we can't send pictures on our ones of the picture of the bin, why we didn't take it, because it's like contaminated for this reason. But it'll just say contaminated bin, that's the reason why we didn't take it.
But take that broken wheel example. When you log it, it doesn't then order them a new bin automatically. They have to ring up or put it online. I'm
guessing when they ring up the council to say why didn't get collected, it'd be like damaged bin, and then hopefully they'll be like, right, can order a new one, and then they're obviously onto the right people.
It's still a pretty clever system though, isn't it, that you actually are I don't think people would realise that if they're not getting their bin picked up, that kind of gets logged, and it's not just a sort of he said, she said type scenario. It's like, no, we were there, we saw your bin, it had the wrong stuff in it, or it was over compacted and we couldn't get stuff out, or it was the plastic week and you put paper in the thing.
The best one we put down as well, it happens occasionally, not all the time, is refilled after collection. We've seen it so many times where we've walked down the road, you see them just like filling the bin back up, and you're like, well, we just saw you do it. And then we mark on the system as refilled after collection. So
very naughty. That's amazing.
I'm trying to understand what the gain is here. So you've collected it, they then refill it, and run it down the street, be it past you?
So in other words, we would just collect it, And obviously, we wouldn't mark it down as anything. So if they ring up, we wouldn't have marked it down as not out because we would have collected the bin. But if we like leave the side waste, because obviously what like general waste should be all in the bin, they would be like, well, you didn't collect my bin. We're like, no, we saw you refill it after we left. And then we recall it, so they're not going to go back and get your second bin because you wanted more rubbish to be collected.
Oh, so they're sort of like they've got an extra black bag that's next to it that you haven't taken because they're not supposed to be putting that out, and they just quickly dump that into the bin and try pretend it was there all along. That's very naughty.
And I guess,
amazing.
I mean, it is an interesting point, isn't it? Because I think lots of people, particularly on social media, I'm sure you get this all the time, would say, well, why don't you take that? You're there anyway. Why wouldn't you take the bag to the side of the bin? And I guess I'm interested in that kind of people's view that, hey, I should be allowed to do something different. But then obviously if everyone did it, you'd just be, you wouldn't be able to collect. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to collect the end of the run.
So they try and give us enough work to fill up the lorry so many times. So obviously they then base it on every house having so much weight, which would fit in up to their capacity of a full bin. That's why we don't take overfilled bins. Obviously, one is overfilled. Two, we tip the bin and then the lid comes off because it gets stuck on the lorry coming down. And three, obviously, when we move it, everything falls out everywhere. So we don't take certain things. Everyone's allowed that one bin, lid closed. And then hopefully that means all the rounds should be similar weights because you're not taking the extra waste. Most councils allow you to do more recycling bins if you request them. But general waste, they make you pay for because obviously it's more expensive to take away, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and they're trying to ultimately limit the amount of general waste and get people recycling, presumably. So it sounds like if you're doing the loading and the driving, how long have you been on the bin rounds then? How long have you been doing this?
So yeah, it's been 13 years in total. So yeah, I said about 7 years worth of loading and 6 of driving, but I still do both at the moment. So it's just it's been a while.
Yeah, we talked like quite a few episodes back, but earlier in the year about the Birmingham bin strike and the various roles that they're looking to sort of make redundant. And there's been strikes. They haven't had waste picked up or recycling picked up from people's homes for over a year now. Is that the kind of issue that would affect you? It sounds like you've had some career progression from the loading to the driving.
Yeah, so at our place, we don't have, I believe in Birmingham, they have grades with the levels of binmen. We just kind of have one, which is just binmen and then driver loaders. You can obviously within the role develop. So I did it through my work. I took my driving through them and they paid for it. And then I became a driver loader. But that's our only development we have within our roles.
And you mentioned you're one of the youngest drivers, I think you said. Is that right?
Yeah. No,
okay.
There's obviously some people on the old grandfather licenses still, where they didn't have to take HGV license. It was from their car license and stuff.
Oh,
when
really?
Like the older,
wow.
Some of the older boys.
Okay. And I guess that was going to be my question about the workforce. Are you finding that it is getting older? I met with Bristol Waste recently and they said one of the problems they were having was getting younger people into the career. They were, it was an aging workforce and it's quite hard to get young people to apply for this job. And so I'm intrigued as to what you're experiencing.
Most people who come into the job have, the same as me, have lost their jobs from other previous jobs. And it's kind of like joining an agency and then coming into it. You don't get many school leavers. Or some people come back from university and stuff and do it for a short amount of time, but it would mainly be people who have fallen out of jobs to then just looking for something because of stopgap.
Okay. And then you end up loving it and doing it for...
Yeah, something we look to stay in.
I love walking. I try and do 20,000 steps a day at the moment. Big fan of just getting walking. And for me, I love being outside, but I am a fair weather... I'm not a fair weather walker, but I am a fair weather worker. Yeah. And you are right. I am exactly the kind of person who'd be like, oh, this is a great job in the summer.
But again, obviously you got more smells in the summer. You sweat a lot more in the summer. And obviously when everything seems a bit more gross in the summer because you're wearing less clothes. Like in the winter, things are frozen, so you don't really get smells or the bin juice or anything like that. Doesn't really notice it as much. But in the summer, the flies are everywhere. You got more maggots and stuff. It's not as glamorous in the summer as it is the winter sometimes.
Okay, so we've made it sound horrendous. So I will just do a bit of a plug. I'll do a bit of a plug for young people wanting to get into the career.
But yeah, I did it just obviously when I first started. My fitness and stuff has been another level. So I've done about 4 marathons, and the London Marathon twice, Brighton Marathon, and the local one. I've done ultra marathons and stuff, and I haven't needed to do as much fitness work as some people are training for marathons to do. I play football the weekends. I'm normally one of the fittest on the pitch, and it's just from going to work and getting paid. It's nothing majorly to it. I do like to go to the gym occasionally in the mornings before work, but
Before work?
yeah, I go. Because after work, I'm a bit tired. I'm not going to lie to you.
But what time do you start your round? What time are you in the gym then?
So I go to the gym at 4 and then finish there at 5 and then to the bins for 5:30.
Wow. Okay. You're sounding more machine than man at this point.
But yeah, so fitness-wise and stuff like that, it's for a younger person, I believe it is a lot easier, obviously, to do. Because you just naturally you can do a fast pace for 5-6 hours and you kind of can be done for the day, and then you've got the rest of the day to yourself. Where some jobs most jobs you are working 9 to 5. There's no I'll get to finish early. You don't get that. And with that, and I don't work weekends, and to me that's a massive bonus.
Yeah. And do you think a focus on social media will help young people to be more aware of the job, more aware that it exists, which is obviously the most important thing in getting people to apply?
Oh yeah, obviously, some people in my social media comments think we work 1 day a week. So I like to debunk that. That's not true either. We definitely work Monday to Friday. Some of them work 4 days a week. Definitely not 1, no. So you don't just do 1 day every 3 weeks.
Because they only, so my bin days are Thursday. Some people on my street might think refuse operatives only work on a Thursday. That's
it. And they're the rest of the time off. But we don't. We do have to work 4 to 5 days a week, depending on the council.
Okay, so it's a good job, but not so good that it's once a week.
Yeah, it's not that great, but it is still good for a normal job.
I mean, that is such an interesting point, isn't it? Because it is, a great summary of that is recycling is just something we all have to engage with every week. We have to think about what we're putting out in our bins. But how often do we think about the collection crew? How often are we thinking, where's this gone? We are, unless we're complaining about it, because people do love to say, oh, they mixed it in the truck, they didn't really recycle it, all that stuff. That's always said. But essentially, I put a bin out in the evening, and in the morning, I've got empty bins. And I go, oh, that's lovely. And I bring them in. And I don't think, God, some people had to get up at 5 a.m. to make that happen. And, I've got this amazing crew who I don't even know. And it's just super interesting that people could be so focused that they don't even think, oh my goodness, these people work every day of the week.
Yeah, some of my obviously my comment section is obviously questions about the bin men and stuff, because not many people know they're bin men. Like people say, oh, you're such a happy bin man. I'm like, you probably never met your bin men to know if they're nice or miserable or whatever they are. But obviously we get a lot of things like, oh, bin men are grumpy. They move my bin 20 miles down the road. You're like, that seems like a lot of effort for a bin man. I don't feel like they're going that far to put you out of place.
Yeah, they're not deliberately trying to make life hard for you. It's probably because the way you're putting your bin out is making life hard for them.
Yes. So our biggest problem, obviously, putting the bin or collecting the bins is people's parking, like in closes, or people park on corners and stuff like that. And we just can't get down roads. And then obviously we have to park at some point, go collect the bins and bring them to the lorry. And most bins look the same. I'm not going to lie to you. They've got a couple of them which have numbers on them, which is great, which I would always suggest people putting it on their lids and stuff, because that's the best place to put your bin number.
Okay.
But also you got some people who put like pictures like of dogs or butterflies, and you're like, I don't know where that bin belongs to. Yes, you might recognise your bin, but that means nothing to me.
And do you find the public? I live in the butterfly house is like an amazing thing that you have to work out which one's the butterfly house. But do you find people are very possessive of their bins then? Is putting the number on the bin is your top tip?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because you obviously some people are like, oh, it's just a bin, and that's absolutely fine. But they're normally the the dirtiest bins, the people who don't care about their bins, what bin they get back. And obviously, I say with the food waste bins as well, because if people do leave it loose in their bins and then they magically a fresh new bin arrives around their property, they're like, well, I'm taking that one because that's a lot nicer. But if it's got no bin number, you're never going to know which one's yours. So that's why I'd always just, if you look after your bins, make sure you put a number on the lids, because for me, when I'm carrying 2 or 3 bins at a time, you have 2 in one hand and you can always see the lid. So you can tell which number it is before you even walk to it. So you're not walking past houses and stuff like that. Put the bin down and you carry on walking to the next one. So if you are very precious about your bin, definitely put a number on it.
It's funny you should say this, because a green bin mysteriously appeared on our street the other day, and it appeared outside my house. And green for us is like plastic and metal. And I love a free bin. I'm always keen. I didn't order it. And I just thought, what's this bin doing here? And I put it, I thought, well, it's not mine. So I gave it to my neighbour. I put it in my neighbour's driveway. And it obviously wasn't theirs. And I watched this bin get shuffled around the street, all the way along, then all the way down the other side, then all the way along again, straight back to my house, where I thought, right, I'm keeping it then. And as I've said on this podcast in our very earlier episodes, my mother-in-law likes to bring me plastic. So this is now my mother-in-law's bin. And when she turned up the other day, she filled it with plastic. And I thought, this is great. I'm glad I've got this bonus bin.
You have to put a separate number on it. Just make a number up and put it in your road and be like, oh, that's not mine. Just take it.
I don't wish to open the can of worms. What symbol would my mother-in-law have? She have a butterfly?
Don't go there, James. Don't go there, James. So in terms of advice then, you've said, numbers on the top so that you can match it up and see that people get their bins back if you're really particularly precious about your bin. What other bits of advice have you got that we can do as people who put our bins out every week, recycling or otherwise, to make your life and your colleagues' life easier?
So the main thing is, I feel like putting bins next to each other. So if you're doing like a semi-detached street, if you have a gap between the houses, that's where you want to kind of put your bins. So it's not blocking a driveway, and it's easier for the bin men just to grab. We normally grab 2 bins at a time to the back of the lorry. We load up and then put them back exactly the same place. If you don't, you're like dotted around. It's either walking a bin all the way to the next bin to collect, tipping them on the lorry and having to walk all the way back again, and hope if there is a number on them, you get the same bin back. Otherwise,
hopefully
you could get any bin. But yeah, so that's a massive thing. Like the extra steps. I've seen people go, oh, it's only like 10 steps. But if we're tipping about 1,400 bins a day, like that's a lot of extra steps that we didn't really need to do. And obviously all we want to try and do is get the bins on and off out the way the quickest possible, because people don't like waiting for the bin men to finish their job. They just expect us to be 100 miles an hour unless we're doing their bin, and they want to take our time about it and then load it nice and slowly.
Yeah, I put the handle out thinking that's going to be really helpful for them and they'll really be pleased with me. Do you notice things like that, or does it not matter?
No, not really. Not at all.
Waste of time, James. Waste of time.
But it's obviously more helpful, obviously, than if it's pushed against the wall or something, because obviously you're sliding it out. But if it's on the side, it's exactly the same as if it's facing the road. It doesn't make too much of a difference. I've never gone, yes, that bin's in the right place.
That's going to be a hard habit to break, but
I suppose it's not making anything bad. It's just I would never be like, oh, that's my favourite house.
Sorry, James. You've got to do something else to become the favourite house.
I'm such a people pleaser as well. There I am thinking I'm definitely the favourite house.
Oh, that's amazing. But actually, what about other tips for like the what you put in the bin itself? Obviously get the stuff right, but like how you put it in the bin, what helps you with the kind of knowing whether it is genuinely recycling in the bin and all that kind of stuff?
Recycling properly. So we've got obviously making sure everything's loose inside the bins, and there's nothing, as in like plastic bags don't need to go in your plastic bins. So in other words, that should all be loose, because most I haven't found a council apart from the ones who do bin bag collections that if they have a wheelie bin, everything should be loose within that bin anyway. So if we see a black bag or any sort of bag in it, we get told just to leave it because it's most likely to be general waste and will just get taken out anyway. So we get told to leave it. If it does end up in the truck, because it's buried at the bottom of it, it will just get thrown away in the general waste or taken out. The first thing they do is take out any black bags because they're not going to sort through black bags to find out if it's got the right stuff in. It's easier just to kind of get rid of it.
So if you've got mixed recycling, there's no point bagging up the cans separately to the bottles, the glass bottles or plastic bottles, or bagging up the paper separately to the cans or whatever. There's no point in any of those bags. If you're supposed to put it in loose, you just, it being loose and tipped in the back of the truck is how you want it.
The only thing with bagging it up, you could do it with paper if you're putting it in a paper bag. So that's the only thing I could say with that. But plastic-wise, no, just they're more likely to think it's general waste and not get recycled anyway. So the best thing is always just put it in there loose and it's more likely to then be recycled. As long as stuff's clean and everything's in the right bin, obviously I say about pizza boxes and stuff like that, make sure you get rid of the greasy side of it because that side's not recyclable. You can't wash cardboard yet, so it'll just end up having to go in your general waste. So as long as it's clean and as you bought it, it goes in the paper bin, and then plastic can obviously be cleaned out.
And when you're offering this kind of advice, I guess you have the same problem we have, which is we're actually talking to 168 countries right now. But in the UK, we're talking to the whole country, and people's rules differ, council rules differ. I literally have just posted a video about toothpaste tubes, and I've already had someone comment going, my council doesn't accept toothpaste tubes. And obviously the video is like, hey, recycle your toothpaste tubes. So it's very difficult to give this kind of national or to have a national platform where you give recycling advice when everyone's rules are so different. How do you counter that? How do you have to think about the content you're putting out when it's specific advice to councils?
Very rarely it's like a specific council I talk about. So it would normally be, I would just either Google it to start with and then find out whatever local council is, an A to Z list of an item. And I'll be like, polystyrene's not allowed in this bin. And then someone will go, well, my council accepts it. And I was like, oh, really? What council's that? And then I would literally go on their website and then screenshot the polystyrene and go, actually, I think you're wrong here. It should be going in the general waste bin. And it's just, I normally do have to say, make sure you check with your local council before. Most of them do have really good A to Z lists of recycling where stuff goes. So I always double check there. But I do like to ask, oh, what council is it? Because it's another video I can make about, you should always check, and this is the reason why.
I really feel like we should have put that in our intro, Robbie. It should have been like, hello, welcome to Talking Rubbish. Please make sure you check your local council before you listen to any advice from James and Robbie.
We need that disclaimer up front.
Yeah, that would have really helped us out.
So we've talked a little bit over the various episodes about fires and the damage that they can cause and just, safety concerns. Is that something you see becoming more prevalent? And, what do you do about the issue of kind of fires? Is it something you've had first-hand experience of?
So with that, obviously, it's mainly batteries and vapes are the worst things for obviously starting fires in the back of lorries. We've had one where we believe it was a vape went off in the back of the lorry, and there was like a small fireball that's come up. And then obviously we had to see, lucky enough we was collecting plastic at the time, and we don't have mixed recycling, because if there's paper within the lorry, then it would have been a completely different scenario. But yeah, so the thing is that we have to make, obviously we use a fire extinguisher to make sure we put it out. We then called there was no more fire we could see, called our supervisor out. They checked, said, yeah, there's nothing we can see. That's then take us to the tip, and we have to tip it separately to make sure it's all out the lorry in case there was a fire at some point. But obviously, if they're set on fire, then obviously we have to call the fire brigade and everything like that, and they cut the lorries open. And obviously, it's only the council who can end up paying for the repair. So technically, it's just that's why council tax would go up, because they've got to replace these lorries.
Yeah, crazy, and actually amazing to see that this is a real problem. This is a real person who's seen one of these fireballs caused by one of these vapes. So people need to remember to keep them separate, and if they're disposing of them, take them to their local supermarket where these bins are starting to pop up, and not put it in your recycling or your general waste bin.
Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been amazing to get your insight, and I'm sure Binfluencers have learned a huge amount in terms of just the practical process of having our waste collected. It's awesome to hear that just firsthand. We like to, when we have a guest on, we like to ask them to recommend a gift for a Binfluencer that I then go out and source. So do you have a gift that you would like to recommend that we give away?
I would say butterfly stickers, but I'm going to stick with the numbers on the bin. I feel like that would be a better one, just to make it easier for me, not just for the houses. So yeah, I would say bin stickers. As long as they agree to put them on the lid, then I'm more than happy with that one.
Okay, that's a very good suggestion. So I will source some exclusive bin stickers, which may or may not be exclusive. I will source some very, very nice bin stickers for whoever wins this prize. So to win this, just follow us on Instagram and like the post that is Ashley's episode announcement, and then I will enter you into a draw for those bin stickers. Obviously, I will find out your address before I send them. I won't just send you a random number. I will make sure it matches your house number. But you have to promise to put them on the lid of all of your bins. And Ashley, the question we ask every guest is, if you had an environmental superpower, what would it be and how would you use it?
So yeah, my superpower would be to be able to X-ray vision, to be able to see through the bins, so I can tell if it's contaminated before I even get to it. So without even having to open the lid up, I could just see, yep, that's got black bags in it, and then I can just carry on walking. And obviously for me, it'll make my day a lot easier, and obviously it'll stop my loads from getting contaminated. So for me, X-ray vision through bins would be number one.
That's brilliant. And you definitely spot those vapes, wouldn't you? So
Oh,
no more
100%,
fireballs, because you just wouldn't take the bin.
Problem
Or we
solved.
need councils to adopt see-through bins. I mean, this could... it's easier than getting X-ray vision.
I feel like they will get dirty. If you don't keep them clean, then it's just gonna be back to even worse to look at.
You definitely know which of your neighbours kept their bins clean then, wouldn't you?
Imagine that unbagged food waste in the summer, just in that see-through bin.
Oh.
I'm not opening that. I can see the maggots. Oh, anyway. Thank you so much, Ashley, for joining us. It really has been awesome to have you on, and hopefully everyone's enjoyed that. Next week, we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally, Robbie and I, it takes a while to edit and produce this podcast, so normally we're running a bit ahead of schedule. So we're recording a couple of weeks before things go out. But Netflix are releasing a documentary called Plastic Detox, and we wanted to give you guys almost live feedback of that. So Robbie and I are going to have a little watch party of the documentary, and then we're going to record our thoughts almost straight after, so that can go out as a trash talk. So next week we will give you a review of that documentary. I think it comes out on the Monday, and obviously our episode will come out on the Thursday. So if you guys wanted to, feel free to watch Plastic Detox on Netflix before the episode, and then we can all have a discussion about whether it was a good representation of the plastic industry, the issues with plastic. I think it's going to strike up the conversation again. So we just wanted to get our thoughts down quite quickly after it going out. As always, thank you all for listening. Thank you for the reviews and engagement. We absolutely love getting the opportunity to do this podcast. Join our Discord, follow us on social media @Rubbish Podcast. You can email talkingrubbishpodcast@gmail.com, or you can WhatsApp us. And everything we've discussed today can also be found on our link tree. The details of all those things can be found in our show notes. There's nothing left for me to say other than see you next bin day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.